All right, so it is September, and you know what that means. It is time for UFC Paris. I'm heading off to the airport in just a second to head to Paris. By the time you're watching this, I will have just touched down at Charles de Gaulle Airport in preparation for what is a really, really good fight card this weekend in Paris. The main event and the co-main event, these have massive title implications and could determine who is going to fight for the belt next in two different weight divisions, lightweight and middleweight. Of course, the main event is Nassourdine Imavov taking on Borralho. Borralho is undefeated. He's very, very well-rounded. He's the captain of the Fighting Nerds, a team that is taking over all the mixed martial arts. And of course, Nassourdine Imavov, the Russian, according to Borralho, that now lives and trains out of Paris, France. This man just knocked out Israel Adesanya, the former champion. So you got to think, whoever wins this fight next should be fighting for a belt. And I'll tell you, top to bottom, there's some fantastic fights. And the co-main event, Benoit, Saint-Denis, the former French Special Forces. This man is always in action-packed fights. Of course, remember that fight that he had against Dustin Poirier? That was an absolute classic. Had Dustin in all kinds of trouble. The man continued to jump the gilly.
Don't be silly. Jump the gilly.
And then, of course, knocked out Benoit Saint-Denis, but he almost finished him multiple times. And, of course, last time he was in the octagon, he bounced back to winning ways, getting a submission by an arm triangle in the second round. He's taking on Mauricio Ruffy, another guy from the Fighting Nerds. When you look at Mauricio Ruffy, he's got a record of 12 wins, 1 loss, 3 wins in the UFC, 2 knockouts, 12 wins overall, 11 by knockout. This man is a highlight machine. Last time out against Bobby King Green, what happened? Spinning wheel kick, 2 minutes into the first round, knocked him out cold. Before that, went to a decision against James Yontop at Madison Square Garden, but he looked phenomenal. And let me tell you, James Yontop, if you don't know him, that man's a really tough guy. Before that, knocked out Jamie Malarkey, knocked him out in the very first round. I'm telling you, Mauricio Ruffy, this man is a spectacular striker. Of course, coming from the Fighting Nerds, very, very well-rounded as well. But against Benoit Saint-Denis, fighting in Paris, a lot of pressure on his shoulders. And remember, the last time Benoit Saint-Denis fought in Paris, it wasn't a good night. He went up against Renato Moicano. He lost the first round via a 10-7 round. And the reason I say that is because it was a 10-7 round. And if anyone disagrees, they don't know what they're talking about. Let me tell you about the MMA scoring system. If a round is really, really close, like really close, if everything's even and one guy lands one extra jab or gets an extra takedown or lands one extra punch or has a little bit more control, just ever so slightly, that makes it a 10-9 round. This is the actual language in the scoring system from the Athletic Commission. This isn't my opinion. If one fighter goes out there and clearly wins the round, you're like, hold on a minute, this guy took him down, he got some ground and pound, he landed some good shots. The other guy did okay, but this one guy, he clearly won the round. That should be a 10-8 round, okay? And then if somebody goes out and beats somebody to a pulp, beats them all over the octagon from one side of the ring to the other, almost finishes them, has them covered in blood, has the referee saying, fight back, and they manage to survive, that is a 10-7 round. And let me tell you, 10-7 rounds are very, very important, and we need to see more of them. And the judges need to pay attention to the scoring criteria and judge them like I just said. I'll tell you why 10-7s are important, because think about this. Let's say there's 2 rounds, round 1, round 2. They're very close, okay? They're very close rounds. Not a lot happens. One guy just lands a couple of extra shots. He gets a 10-9. Round 2, the other guy gets a couple of extra shots and he wins a 10-9 again. So, okay, he's won the first 2 rounds. Well, if in the third round, the other guy that's losing the fight, if he goes out there and marmalizes the guy, absolutely butchers the guy, on the street, he would have won the fight. But according to how most judges score fights, they'd give him a 10-8. Okay, in that third round, which would make the fight a draw. And me and you both know, if there's one guy at the end of a street fight that is absolutely covered in blood, beaten to a pulp, got to go down the yard, get stitched up, half knocked out, won't walk again for about a month, maybe needs a surgery, who won the fight? The guy that kicked the out of the guy in the third round, not the guy that maybe landed a couple of extra jabs. That is why 10-7s are so important, and that is why Renato Moicano got a 10-7 round against Benoit Saint-Denis. However, Benoit Saint-Denis, this man is ferocious, okay? He really is. And he's going up against Mauricio Ruffy, and that's going to be a really good fight. Now, Ruffy, I'd say technically on the feet, is a far better striker, but Benoit Saint-Denis, he's got a special heart. I can't make predictions, okay? Because I'm commentating the fight. I always say it. People say, why? I say, well, it wouldn't be right. If you're fighting in the main event, let's say, and the commentator is making predictions that you're going to lose, that is going to piss you off, and that would be extremely disrespectful. So I can't make predictions. But when you look at the main event, Nassourdine Imavov, let's just dive a little deeper. Of course, last time out, he had that stunning second round knockout over Israel Adesanya, okay? Beautiful shot. Hit him with an uppercut earlier on, and then boom, over the top, big right hand, sits him down, follow-up shot, put him to sleep. Before that, put a beat down on Brendan Allen. That was last year in Paris. Beat Jared Cannonier in the 4th round. Kind of a controversial stoppage. Jared Cannonier felt that he was fine. And to be honest, the referee might have jumped in a little bit too early. However, it was a solid victory, and it's a good name and a good scalp to have on your resume. And before that, of course, it was Roman Dolidze, who would beat via decision. So the man's on a roll, 16 wins, 4 losses. Very tall, very strong, good wrestling, well-rounded game. But it's the striking that really stands out. Then on the flip side, you got Caio Borralho. This man, as I say, from the Fighting Nerds, fighting out of Brazil. 17 wins, 1 loss. 5 knockouts, 4 submissions. And he's on an absolute roll in the UFC. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 wins in the UFC. Jared Cannonier knocked out Paul Craig, Mihail Olashechuk, Mahmoud Muradov, Armen Petrosian, Gadze Omar Gadziev, okay? And then Jesse Murray on the Contender Series. Caio Borralho's got really well-rounded skills. He's very, very cerebral. He's got a very high fight IQ. He really can do it all. So it's going to be interesting to see how these two match up and what kind of approach Caio Borralho brings to the table. Because honestly, he can pick his poison. He can wrestle. He can do jiu-jitsu. He could probably stand and strike with Imavov as well, because even though he knocked out Israel Adesanya, he's not exactly a knockout artist per se. Out of the 16 wins, only 7 fights have ended by way of knockout. Other interesting fights on the card, Modestas Bukauskas taking on Paul Craig, right? Paul fucking Craig, right? He's always in interesting fights. You can't miss this guy, right? He's got excellent jiu-jitsu. Hopefully he stays off his ass and he stands on the feet. That's my bad Scottish accent. Of course, we've got the Welsh Dragon, Mason Jones, returning. He came back to the UFC earlier this year, took on Jeremy Stephens. What a fight that was. Mason Jones fighting out of Wales. This man is a tremendous talent. He's taking on Borralho. Okay, so that should be a good fight. Reese McKee from Northern Ireland, if you don't know him, he's great. Opening up the main card, Patricio, Pitbull. Okay, I love this about this guy because, of course, he took on Yair Rodriguez in his UFC debut. That didn't go his way. Then he turns around pretty quick, fights Dan Ige, and now here he is taking on a UFC newcomer in Paris on a fight night, clearly saying to the UFC, I am hungry. I want to fight. I want to prove that I want to be considered as one of the top lightweights on the planet, and I want to get a title fight eventually. When you look on the undercard, there's some pretty exciting fights as well. Marcin Tybura taking on Ante Delaya, a guy that's trained by the legendary Mirko Cro Cop, fights out of that team, trained by him. The man's a vicious boxer. He's making his UFC debut. Andreas Gustafsson taking on Rinat Fakhretdinov. That'll be a fun fight. If you don't know these names, it's okay. You're not a commentator. They're on the prelims. But these guys are really good. Just because they're on the prelims doesn't mean you don't get exciting fights. Let me tell you. And by the way, the crowd in Paris, they are one of the best crowds in all of mixed martial arts, wherever you go in the world. From the very first fight, the arena is packed. The atmosphere that they provide, they are singing songs all night long, and it's unbelievable. The arena's absolutely boiling. I will be absolutely covered in sweat and piss and alcohol and cheers and booze and... Anyway, I got to catch my flight. Rebecca's over there. She's giving me the dead eye because we've got to miss our flight. Let me know who you think wins in the main event and the co-main event. Mauricio Ruffy or Benoit Saint-Denis. Caio Borralho versus Nassourdine Imavov. Let me know who you think wins. And let me know who you think are the best MMA fans in the world. I really got to go. See you in Paris.